I was advised late yesterday afternoon the Independent Commission Against Corruption will today release a public statement in which it will state it is investigating allegations made about me concerning matters relating to the former member for Wagga Wagga. Therefore, it pains me to announce that I have no option but to resign from the office of Premier. My resignation will take effect as soon as the New South Wales Liberal Party can elect a new parliamentary leader.
After Gladys Resigns chose to resign, what surprised me was the reaction. Politicians lined up to say great things and criticise ICAC. I especially like this one from Dave Sharma, who sits in the Morrison government. He would prefer it if the voting public decided the fate of premiers, although I'm not sure how he thinks the voting public would come across the information that ICAC uncovers. I would prefer it if our politicians weren't corrupt. And then there are all the journalists doing the same thing. All of these people are feeding the public's misconceptions about ICAC. At the time of recording, a petition to have Gladys reinstated had over 75,000 signatures. Not sure these people understand that she chose to resign, so there's nothing to reinstate. ICAC didn't sack her, and neither did the law. All that happened is that ICAC released this statement, saying it was going to investigate whether Gladys had engaged in serious misconduct. Why are so many people making statements as if it doesn't matter what evidence emerges in the next few weeks? Instead, we need to have a reaction of disgust against corruption, regardless of the political party involved. We shouldn't tolerate public money being wasted. It's true, Gladys hasn't been found to be guilty. ICAC will continue its investigation, but if there are findings of corruption or misconduct, then it doesn't matter how good of a premier some people thought she was. As soon as corruption is found, it should be dealt with straight away. So what do the two most senior politicians in Australia think? Let's start first with Deputy Prime Minister Barnaby Joyce. He says it's like a Spanish Inquisition. But don't let me spoil it, listen to his reaction yourself.
Yeah, Barnaby, a lot of people were saying this on the weekend. She's had to stand down because, of the process, because she's being investigated. But she could be cleared and she's still lost her job. How does that work?
That's right. Very badly. Very, very badly. That's how that works, and I agree with Joel 100%. The fact that they come and tell you, you've been referred to ICAC, well, yeah, but you're not proved guilty of anything. Yeah, you've lost your job. And they're supposed to stand aside. But of course, when the Premier stands aside, it means they're no longer the Premier. So this is not the great sort of righteous process. It's a little bit Spanish Inquisitionist. And then the other thing I would say is we elect politicians, not bureaucrats. The people should be the final arbiter of whether they decide they want someone or not. And ICAC out of control means that the bureaucracy reigns supreme, and politicians are basically terrified to do their job. And politicians sometimes have to make hard decisions. It's not that they're corrupt, they're making decisions. I mean, it's in disagreement with the bureaucracy, but that's their right. That's why people go to a ballot box and they see the name of politicians on the ballot paper, not the names of bureaucrats on the paper. So, yeah, the process of ICAC, lauded by the people who want greater power for minority groups against the wishes of the majority. That's how I'd see it.
Yep, a lot of anger about this. Moving on, Australians could...
You've got to love the quality commentary from the media. If it's up to the voters, then without ICAC or some kind of investigative body, none of the information on corruption ever reaches the voters. Now that suits Barnaby. The Liberal Party has been dragging their feet and refusing to introduce a federal version of ICAC for ages. And then we have the Prime Minister, Scott Morrison. Here he is, reassuring us that the federal government has now been spooked by what has happened, and there is no way they will go down the road of risking this happening at a federal level.
A lot of focus from the general public on ICAC, who are thinking, who the hell are they? And who are they responsible to? Who reviews them? Does ICAC need to be reformed?
Oh, look, it's certainly not a model that we'd ever consider at a federal level, and I think that's been on display for some time. And, you've got to have processes that assume people are innocent before they're thought to be guilty, and that is a real problem. So it's not a model that we've ever contemplated going at a federal level. And, we have a set of arrangements at a federal level that can be built upon, but certainly not going down that path in New South Wales. And I'm sure there are millions of people who've seen what's happened to Gladys Resigns and will understand that that's a pretty good call not to follow that model.
What these politicians don't want you to know is how much corruption has been exposed by ICACs in the various states. We just see the resignations in the media, but no one focuses on the public reports that are published detailing the corruption and the misconduct. The more of us that get to know these investigations, the better. So stay tuned, because that's exactly what I'm planning to look into.